There we go. So thank you for joining me for this surprise training. I was thinking, first of all, I had the wrong date, right? So I had the 22nd, which was actually yesterday. So my anniversary was yesterday. And I was thinking, I know we've got folks who kind of get overwhelmed by the organization of everything and, the passwords and the social media and just kind of all the things. And I try to help you the best I can with what has worked for me. And this isn't just all coming from like my brain. I listen and read and follow people on podcasts. I'm always looking for a better way to do things. And I'm very, very teachable. This is kind of what they teach you in grad school, right? You don't really own the words you write. Somebody's going to come along and edit you and critique you. So I try to take my ego out of it, and I'm always open to new ideas and new things. So when I learned about Trello, it blew my mind because I was sort of like this holy grail person. Like I was on the search for the most amazing organization software. I had these criteria that, it had to be electronic. It had to be something I could access on my phone, and it had to be graphic because that's how my brain works. I see too many words, I shut down, I get overwhelmed, or, I see those charts that like take up a whole wall and I'm like, no, forget about it. So I have tried so many. And this one works for me. Now you might have one that works for you. I know a lot of folks that use Asana. I have not used Asana, but very teachable person here. I'm open to that. Trello just seems to work for my brain. And the more I use it, the more little bells and whistles that seem to pop out of nowhere and really help this process. So if you're watching me live, excellent. I'm trying to make sure I'm watching you here, because if I watch you here and I will miss it. So if you see me look off to the side, that's what I'm trying to track here. Okay, I've got 4 people watching. Welcome. I'm so glad you guys are here for my surprise training. Yeah, my husband had to run to the airport. Yesterday, we basically spent, just, colonoscopy and then a great breakfast. So 26 years, I'm very proud of us. He's a good guy. So Trello, I'm going to leave you hopefully with some ideas on how to use Trello for 2 things, actually, your passwords and your finances. Now, this time of year, I've got some trainings coming up. Next week, in fact, we've got Dr. Waddell coming on March 29th at 6 p.m. And even Step It Up members have to register. This doesn't automatically pop up in your Facebook feed or anything. You need to go to Kate Walker Training, click register. It's free. So, but if you can't make it as a Step It Up member, you know that it's going to go into your catalog as a 1-hour asynchronous CE. So, you win if you do, you win if you don't. So that's a good thing as a Step It Up member. But Dr. Waddell is going to talk more about finances, write-offs, getting organized, April 15th. Actually, it's April 18th this year because the 15th falls on a Saturday. So we have until the 18th to get those filed, taxes, that is. And so she's going to help us more with that. But one of the things I mentioned in one of my trainings was connecting all of your business expenses to one bank account, right? And then I also mentioned using a credit card with points or some kind of a travel reward system. Now, I don't advocate going into debt in any reality or stretch of the imagination. Oh, thank you guys. Thanks for the happy anniversary wishes. Yes, Jocelyn, it's Trello. And how do you spell that? Just like Jocelyn did. It's Trello. So she got it right. And I'll post a link in the thread as well. But so with finances and things like that and getting organized comes passwords. So there are a couple of prerequisites that come with using this system. With any system, there has to be a discipline involved. And the number one discipline is when you add an account at any point in your life, immediately write down the password and the username. Okay, you got to have that going in. I remember I was playing in a band once, and the drummer, of all people, that's an inside joke, the drummer said, yeah, I have this habit. As soon as anybody hires me for a gig, I pull out my calendar and I write it down, because if I don't write it down the minute I get it, I'll forget about it. Right. And that struck me, because I'm like, okay, here I am supposed to be this master of organization, right? But it really comes down to the habit and the discipline of writing down a password as soon as you get it in your head. So let me show you the big picture of Trello. And again, I'm going to post the link if you're watching this on a replay, if you just join me. Give me 2 seconds to go to screen share. So what you're looking at is my Trello board. These are my starred boards. And that just means my favorites. It's like in Google Drive, you can put a star. See, here's the little star next to things. I actually have 2 workspaces. I have a workspace for my team, and I have a workspace for me. So my support team, there's my 2023 mastermind, my 40-hour training, email, voicemail, because Trello has a way for me to actually send things to other people's lists. I have, well, you can see there's just a ton of stuff there. With me personally, Dr. Kate's workspace, there are only 3 things. And my private Scrum is actually from another organization system I used to use called Kanban. Kanban flow was very visual as well. It moved from left to right. So to do, almost done, done kind of thing. And then that's going to have all of my personal stuff in there, and usernames and passwords. So I'm going to show you this one, and I'm going to double check. I'm going to take you off screen share because I just want to check that I'm not like literally showing you things, but okay, no, we're good. I'd be like, oh, that's super secure, Kate. Thanks. Way to show the world. But you can see this is where I have stored all of my passwords. So I've got all of these things organized by topic. So my will, my power of attorney goes first. And there's a way to access this. I have it's an online thing that I use called Everplans. So when I die, someone's going to get an email with passwords, and they'll be able to access all of this. No PHI in here. There's nothing in here that holds client confidential information, but it's the key to get to that. This is the list for anything having to do with the administration of All About the Family, which is my practice, LLC or PLLC, and Kate Walker Training. Apps and organizations. So remember that discipline I was telling you about earlier? Like a lot of you, let's see, where's one? Let's see. Okay, well, here's the thing that no, that's not it. Let's do lead pages. I use lead pages to create a lot of my landing pages. So I always put the URL. I sign in with Google, and I usually put something about, when it renews, especially if it's a chunky membership, like it costs a lot of money. But the reason I put the URL in there is because let's say I just, on a whim, sign up for a thing, and then I forget about it. And I'm like, what was that thing? Well, I can literally go through this list periodically, and I've got the URL in there. So I can be like, oh, that was the thing that I thought would build a good quiz for me, and it sucks, and I'm never going to use it again, and I need to unsubscribe. This gives me a way to get there. I can't tell you how many times I would sit at the computer going, was it called Quizlet? Was it called Quizify? Was it called QuizClue? And waiting for the page to pop up. Yeah, I learned my lesson the hard way. So where I'm going to take you, though, are to my finances, stores, and logins. So this is everything from my Amazon account to my bank account. And what I'm going to show you is my Chase Inc. travel rewards card. Now, I do think I've got my actual card number here, so I'm going to stop the share, go in, and yep, I do. So let me just remove that for a second. and put it in a Word doc so I can put it back in a minute. Not that I don't have it memorized, because I kind of do. But there we go. All right, so let me share. So this is my travel reward card, and anything having to do with my business gets connected to this card. And I'm going to show you how many things I have connected to this. So the way it works is I buy it with the Chase card, get the points, pay off my Chase card every month with my dedicated bank account. So here are all the things. And yes, it was compromised. So this is the other reason that I keep this like I do. Trello allows me to create a checklist. So I've got, you see that they're crossed out. That's because when it was compromised, I went through and checked everything as I went through and changed every credit card. Now, I will say, I know a lot of you are thinking right now, well, Kate, that's why I don't connect my business to a credit card. Well, since we've got the chip technology, this is pretty rare. I don't use the actual card. I honestly, Trello allows me to use it as a stored thing because I can actually put it in my Apple Wallet. And I can use my phone for purchases. I rarely get the card out unless I'm at a restaurant, which I know risk, absolutely. But this is one way to do it. So I think I have, let's see, I unchecked LearnPress because that's something I'm getting rid of. I no longer pay for that. So it's unchecked. And the reason it's still there is because I'm deleting it off my website. But my PO box is on here, my learning management system, my website host, SiteGround, my Starbucks card because I use them to give away prizes. So it is connected to my business account, my SurveyMonkey, Uber for when I'm on business trips. So you can see everything that belongs to my business is connected to my Chase card. Now, every single one of those 37 things is listed somewhere in here. It's in my apps. Right? It's going to tell me what I owe, when I owe it. And these are my travel rewards. So when I travel, you know how the hotel would be like, well, what's your number? I go, hang on, click, there it is. My social media account logins. And I've actually gotten to the point where if it doesn't log in with Google, I don't use it. I mean, I have a password system and it's a phrase. Phrases are much more robust than just a word, right? So if you have a phrase like, I like to fish, and then you use the number 1 for I, you use a number 3 for E, you use, right? You get the idea. So our next exclamation point for the next I, you can have a phrase that you'll remember, or I like to fish 23. And then next year, I like to fish 24. I like to fish 25, right? You don't have to go in and change your password every year unless it's a HIPAA compliant software, in which case it is, they'll compel you to change it every 90 days. You don't have to change it every year because you have it written down and it's based on that year. So I like to fish 19 is not very, especially with all the symbols, is not very hackable, right? It's not like that's more hackable than I like to fish 23, right? So if that makes sense. Oh, thanks for posting that link, Jocelyn. Awesome. So this is one way to organize your finances. Now, also what I do with this is I create an archived, because one beautiful thing about Trello is it never really goes away. Trello is it's sort of like when you pay for the upgrade in Dropbox, and if you accidentally delete something, it's still there. Well, Trello does that. Like I can do a search up here for, let's say that quizzical, right? And I put it in there because I'm trying to remember, well, even if I archived it, which is Trello speak for delete, it is in there. And it will say, hey, this card is archived. Do you want us to add it to a board? Yes. Which one? I want it on this one. And it will reactivate that. That's one thing. But I like double safety. I like double safety nets. So I just move things over here to archive. Like, let's say I was teaching for a university and I had a really complicated login and a university ID. Well, I want to make sure that even if I'm not teaching with that university anymore, I slide it over here to archive, and that way it's available. Right. All right. So let me stop the share. So any questions about Trello, at least as it comes to finances? Because remember, here's how I do this again. Anytime I start a new subscription, so let's say it's a business expense for Zoom, and I want to pay the monthly, not the annual, because I'm not sure if I like Zoom and I want to give it a chance, and I want to give myself the ability to cancel without getting a refund and tying up funds. Well, I go to Zoom, I create my username, create my password, go into Trello immediately, create a card, connect it, put it in there, type it in, hit save. Right? Then I go to my Chase card in Trello and I type in my checklist, Zoom, and I click checkbox, right? Because now I know my Chase card will be paying the fee to Zoom for the foreseeable future. When it's time to pay off my Chase card at the end of the month, I have one bank account assigned to that, and that is my dedicated business account. So at the end of the year, or I do this quarterly, when it's time to pay my taxes, I download the transactions from my Chase account into my accounting software. It's all categorized, ready to go, because I know every single one of those Chase card expenses are business related. Then I'm good to go to estimate my quarterly taxes, hit send, and bye-bye, my money's off to the IRS. Now, you may ask, yeah, Kate, but what if I accidentally use my Chase card for a personal expense? Or if I go back later and I'm like, I'm not really sure that was a business expense. It's fine. When you categorize it, you're going to call it an owner draw. That's all. It's an owner pay for personal expenses. It basically comes out of your profit and doesn't end up on the P&L, like that would be counting it twice. All right. So I know this was a quickie. Does anybody have any questions for me about using Trello to organize your passwords and your finances through a dedicated travel rewards card? And I will take a look at the thread here. Oh, what accounting software do I use, Esmeralda? I use QuickBooks Online. I've always been a QuickBooks girl. I had to take QuickBooks lessons once. My accountant made me go take QuickBooks lessons because I stunk at it. So that's my go-to. Plus, they have great help and support, so it's easy to find the answers when I need it. Did you come up with those categories, or does Trello have those categories? No, those categories are mine. So that's why I like Trello. It works with my brain. So, if I'm looking at something like that's sort of, I don't know, has two categories, like let's say Google, right? Google technically is an app, right? It's software. But for me, it's so integral to my business. I move it over to admin because that's how I check my Google Search Console. That's how I check all the data for my site. That's how it's everything. So it goes under admin, but of course you're going to have some overlap and things matching more than one category. Oh, for tracking expenses. So for tracking expenses, let's remember what we're doing is we're trying to make it easy for our brain, and we're trying to make it easy for our accountant or accounting. Okay. So Trello makes it easy for my brain. So I can put these categories, out there, like finances, personal, admin, apps, things like that. Those categories are for my brain. So I can find them, click them, go there. And when I look at my Chase card, right now, that's one thing, but it's got little subcategories for every single thing that's connected to it. So that's for my brain. Now, when I go to organize for my finances, those categories are dictated by the IRS and what is write-offable, right? So I go to my Chase card, I click download, it talks to QuickBooks, QuickBooks talks to Chase, they do their little, computer thing. Now I have to teach my QuickBooks how to categorize all those expenses. So you can imagine on the front end, the first time you do this, it's going to take some time because you're literally going to be going through and going Sheraton, Dallas, hotel. Now that one's probably pretty easy. QuickBooks is super smart. So it would say, is this a travel expense? And you would click yes. It would say, create a rule from this. And you would say, yep. And then every time it saw Sheraton, Dallas, it would be business expense, business expense. So it will learn your habits eventually. But at the very beginning, it's going to have to be you going through and saying, okay, yeah, this software, let's say it's got an unusual name. You're using, Quirkly virtual software for webcams. I just made that up. Well, if QuickBooks doesn't know how to automatically categorize that, you'll have to teach it. But QuickBooks is smart. It's going to know the next month when that goes through on your Chase card, it will go, aha, I remember that. That's software for her business. That is something she can write off. So we're going to put it over here as a category that, for her profit and loss statement, so she can pay her taxes and subtract that from her income. All right. So does that make sense? Okay. I hope that, let's see. I don't want to lose track of you, Esmeralda. Am I answering your questions? All right. I see your thumbs up. Got you. Okay. Good deal. All right. Anybody else have questions about Trello, organizing your brain? Again, you'll find, I'll show you, there's some other, I'll show you the ones I've used in the past. If I can remember. Let's see. There's one. Okay, I'll show you two. I can't believe they still exist, but that's just because they didn't work for my brain. It doesn't mean they won't work for somebody's. All right, ready? Let me share. Oh, good, Eleanor. I'm glad. Okay, so here are two that I used to use. Here's Kanban. And Kanban, what is a Kanban board? Maybe it'll show you kind of left to right. Yeah, so it's kind of like Trello. Things move from left to right. So it's very nice. It's very visual. The other one I used to use is called Podio, which was super confusing for me because my learning management system is Podia. I was like, wait, is that the same thing? Potato, potato. But Podio is very robust. I mean, it's like lots of things that you could put into it. You can, here's where it looks like lots of words. And so if you had like multiple team members, you could have projects. You could have projects that certain team members work on, other people don't. It's sort of like a combination of Trello and Slack, which Slack is a communication software. But like I said, I used this for a long time, and it actually was really great for my 5-year plan because I could say, okay, in 5 years, I want this, 4 years, I want this. So it was nice because I needed a lot of words. But now I don't need so many words. I need prompts. So if I look at that and I look at my board, right? If I look at my Trello and I see Zoom, I know click, I'm going to see my username, my password. If I click Chase, I know I'm going to see every single thing that is connected to it, right? So I can go through and audit that at least once a year and get rid of things I don't need anymore. Or God forbid, if the card gets compromised, which I don't want to scare you guys away from that. If you're disciplined enough to use a credit card, a business card that gets reward points, why not hook it up to your business? If you have a system like this. Now, if you're not going to have a system, don't hook it up to everything, right? Because if that credit card gets compromised, oh my gosh, that's trying to rebuild that. Like, oh my gosh, what did I have it connected to? I mean, Chase is great. They'll keep it going for about 3 months, but you're going to spend a lot of time going through your yearly statement looking for, okay, what did I pay for? What did this go for? Was this on an annual plan or a monthly plan? And you'll be spending time going through. That's the beauty of an organizational system, whatever you use. Time is money, right? It's either costing you your life energy or it's literally costing you time that you could be spending with your clients. All right, Esmeralda wants to know, even though I may not have many expenses, do you still recommend getting QuickBooks? Well, one of the things I really believe is starting with a system that is scalable. So even if it's a little more robust, and people ask me all the time, do you think I should go with this big robust thing? Or do you think I should stick with this little thing? If you're going to stay a small solo practitioner, use something simple and inexpensive that works for you. QuickBooks may be too much muscle, right? And somebody asked, Carrie was saying, what portion of Google? Oh, wait, hang on, Carrie, I will get to that. That's a great question. So yeah, QuickBooks may be too much because it's one of those things. You can send invoices, you can do contractors. QuickBooks has this very, very inexpensive, I think it's called the entrepreneurial version or the small business version, that is scalable, right? So you can reach a certain point and you're like, oh man, I wish it did this thing. And then of course you're going to pay a little bit more money. So I like QuickBooks because it grows with you. But anything that allows you to track income and expenses that is scalable, I'm all for. Like Excel, beautiful. I love Excel. I'm an Excel girl, but it's not scalable. That if you try to use just a spreadsheet or a piece of paper, it will eventually, you'll be pulling your hair out. So pick a thing now while you're smaller that can grow with you. That's what I think. What portion of Google do you use to save client info? Carrie, that's a great question. So you must use something that will sign a business associate agreement. They offer it, not you. Remember, we want the business to offer you the business associate agreement. So Google has a paid plan in their Google Workspaces product that will do that. They'll offer a signed business associate agreement to you. So that's what I use. Again, my practice is very small. I don't have many clients at one time. So Google Workspaces works beautifully for me. And I use Jot Forms, JOTFORMS, and again, the HIPAA compliant version, which just means I pay for the version that Jot Forms gives me a signed BAA that assures me that they will share responsibility if a breach happens with that client information that they are agreeing to hang on to for me. Okay. Awesome. Quicken instead of QuickBooks. Quicken is good. It seems like I used to use Quicken. I think it was on my desktop. And what did I use it? Well, that was more for household expenses. Maybe that's it. Maybe Quicken is more for household expenses and QuickBooks. I don't know. But yeah, check that out, everybody. Yep. Jot Forms, Doxy.me. I gave up Doxy.me. That's the virtual camera software, I believe. I gave that up once Zoom came out with the free the free HIPAA compliant add-on. So I had my little monthly subscription to Zoom, and it was free to add on the BAA, which that's what I did. All right, guys, I hope you liked my little pop-up training here. And I hope it helps, especially if you're pulling your hair out with getting organized. I know it's hard. And again, all of this starts with the discipline of immediately writing something down. And I just do it as soon as I sign up for a new thing. I literally have Trello open. And my little hack, I type my password into Trello first, right? So there it is. And then I copy and paste it into the app that I'm signing up for. So not the other way around, because you know how sometimes when you enter a password, it's just a bunch of dots, right? And you're trying, oh, wait, what did I write down? No, I put it in Trello, copy, paste, pop there. Then it goes over to the app that I'm buying. All right, guys, that's it. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget, sign up for Dr. Waddell, sign up for Dr. Fox. And for Dr. Fox, please tell a counselor educator that they can use this for their entire classroom. I don't care if they set up a camera and the entire class watches. This is good information. It's free information. Dr. Fox is amazing. She knows what she's talking about. So if you know a counselor educator who would love to show their students some information about bridging from grad school to associate, please feel free to forward them that information. All right, Step It Uppers, have a wonderful week. I'll see ya.